strike at the gold mines of Sibanye Stillwater is now edging ever so close to the third month. Workers are at loggerheads with mine bosses' improved offer, which was tabled earlier in April. Sibanye Stillwater is offering 850 Rand more per month for entry-level Category 4 miners, which is a 7.8% increase. Joining us now is James Wellsted, who is Head of Investor Relations at Sibanye Stillwater. Mr. Wellsted, thank you very much for your time. Let's start off with that risk of this strike dragging out even further. It is going to enter the third month officially on the 9th of May, which is next week, Monday. Who's to blame for this strike dragging out?
Morning, Polly, and to your viewers as well. Well, I mean, it's hard to place blame on anyone, but the strike was called, obviously, by the unions after about 10 months of negotiations that we've been engaging in, even eventually under the auspices of the CCMA, but without being able to find a resolution. So the unions called the strike, and the unions can end the strike as well.
Yeah. All right. So the workers, when we were talking to them during the May Day celebrations, or should we say the ill-fated national May Day rally, which was in Rustenburg yesterday, some of them telling our reporters very clearly that this money that they are demanding now, it dates back to 2018, and that is when your company, the very same gold sector, had a strike that lasted 5 months, James Wellsted, 5 months. And on the back of that, 9 bodies are today 6 feet under as a result of that strike. Are you saying that the issues from 2018 were resolved then, or are the workers the ones who are telling lies?
Listen, I'm not sure who's telling lies or who you spoke to, and I wouldn't go as far as saying anyone's lying. I mean, it all depends on your perspective. The 2018 strike did last for 5 months, and it was characterized by a lot of violence, perpetrated largely by AMCU, who on other workers, NUM and other employees of Sibanye who were trying to go to work. And it was an extremely tragic and unfortunate circumstance. And ultimately it did end with AMCU accepting the offer that we had made and had been accepted by the other 3 unions 5 months prior to that. And after that, we continued with the operations as normal. So I'm not sure what the link between this 1,000 is and the previous engagement that we had in previous strike in 2018, 2019. The fact is that this is a new round of negotiations. We've entered into these negotiations honestly and in a very transparent manner. We've increased our offer 7 times, and we've made what we think is a very fair offer to employees. As you said, it's well above inflation at the moment. In the first year, it's 7.8%, second year, 7.5%, and third year, 7.2% for entry-level workers. Yet the unions have not budged from their 1,000 Rand demand at all. They've stuck to that. They haven't made any moves. They've been very rigid about that approach, and that would increase our costs by 10%, double inflation at the moment. It would result in an extra R1 billion on our operating costs, which is equivalent to about 40,000 Rand per kilogram. And that's essentially the margin that we have at our gold operations at the moment. So it would result in the gold operations being loss-making. And that could potentially impact on the sustainability of the operations. It could impact on jobs, and it also impacts on other stakeholders like the communities, like small and medium enterprises that rely on the operations for business, and obviously regional and national economy as well. So we need to make decisions that are not, in the interests of one stakeholder, being the unions in this instance, but consider the impact on all of the stakeholders.
Yeah.
And that's how we operate.
James, how do you respond to those who say, I mean, right now you're saying if you give workers this 1,000 rand that they are asking for. By the way, just so you know, you merely are 150 rand away from meeting that demand because your current offer is 850. How do you respond to those who say, but honestly speaking, 1,000 rand versus the salary package of your CEO who took home last year in excess of 300 million rand? What is 1,000?
So again, it's all about context and perspective. So it's not 1,000, sorry. The 1,000 that they've demanded is on basic, and then they've demanded 100 increase on live-out allowance. The offer we've made is 800 on basic and 50 rand on live-out allowance. So it's actually 250 rand difference at this point. But the important thing is that this will accrue to 31,000 employees at our gold operations. And when you look at the cumulative effect of the 250 rand each month over 31,000 employees, you get to almost 1 billion rand increase in costs, additional costs, which is the number I highlighted. And as I said, we produce about 27 tons of gold a year. That equates to about 40,000 rand a kilogram of extra costs. And that's effectively our operating margin at the moment at the gold operations. The salary that Mr. Froneman earned last year, it's split into separate portions. There's his guaranteed pay, which is similar to what we're talking about with the unions, etc. And his pay went up 5% year on year. All senior management at Sibanye, their pay has been limited to inflation-related increases over the last number of years. Where he did benefit was on his share incentives, which are linked to share performance and the performance of the company. And as I've said before, the shares that were awarded in March 2018, when our share price was 11.44 rand, have now gone up 560% to a price of 72 rand, which is where they vested this year, and hence the appreciation in value for Mr. Froneman and other shareholders. We've grown this business from about a 13 billion rand South African gold producer into a 180 billion rand diversified international company, and there's been significant value accrued. We now, we've added over 170 billion rand in value to this company, and that's reflected. What we have tried to do with the unions previously is to negotiate profit share as well as normal increases. And we've tried to enter into these negotiations on numerous times, but it's every time that we've raised it, it's been rejected. And that's been very short-sighted because employees, if we had entered into some sort of profit share, would have also benefited significantly from the current strong share price and strong profits that we are making across the group.
So just on the back of what you've just said, James Wellsted, 13 billion rand, that was the profit, or that was how much this company was worth at some point, and you've now managed to make it 130 billion rand operation. The question will come, your lowest paid mine worker at Sibanye, how much does that person earn versus what you have just said about the CEO's salary?
So, listen, I mean, this debate on executive pay has been a debate, and it's not something that we'll be able to solve now. But just to put in, again, give you some numbers, our entry level, so this is a person who's coming straight from, without any experience, any training, anything. If the unions accepted our offer, they will essentially be earning 250,000 rand a year in guaranteed pay in total cost to company.
In monthly terms.
Which is quite... Sorry?
In monthly terms, James. Please give us that.
No, 20,100 rand per month.
20,000.
And this is for your entry-level employee. Obviously, as through the different levels, those pay increments will increase.
Okay. So let me ask you this question then. In your overall operations, we know Sibanye is made up of the gold sectors, there is the platinum sector. How much does the gold sector contribute towards your overall operations? What is the profit margin that is brought in by the gold sector?
So the gold operations are extremely marginal. They only contributed 6% to adjusted EBITDA last year in 2021. And in fact, on a cash basis, we're loss-making. And obviously now with the disruptions we've had this year, they will be incurring losses as well. So this is the issue, and this is the point, is that we are negotiating at the gold operations. They are not highly profitable operations. And to continue absorbing above inflation increases like this, you're going to impact on the sustainability. That means you're going to impact on the life of these operations, which is going to result in job losses, early job losses. It's going to impact on communities. It's going to impact on all other stakeholders who rely on these operations. And that is why we think that the offer we've made is fair, but also obviously considers the impact on other stakeholders, and why we are urging unions to really consider this as a serious offer and to come and engage seriously with us.
Yeah, all right. So a very interesting take there, that these mines, your gold mines, are not only marginal, but at times they actually are loss-making. You add to that the fact that they are also a big contributor to mine deaths, accidents. In 2018, I don't need to tell you how many workers were killed at Sibanye. So the question that one would ask is, what's the incentive for keeping the operations going then?
Well, the incentive is because we employ 31,000 people, and they have dependents, and the multiplier impact of that is about 10 times. So it's actually almost, it's 10 times that number that benefit from our operations. If we close the operations, which is what you're suggesting now, you're essentially going to put 31,000 more people on the streets and unemployed, which this country just can't afford at the moment. So what we're trying to do, and you would have noted that through COVID and coming out of COVID, the mining industry has been the flywheel that has really driven this economy and is carrying this economy at the moment. And we cannot afford to have more job losses. We need to work together as private sector, government and labor to ensure that we can sustain jobs and grow the economy in order to create more jobs.
All right. So I take your point that this is about employment creation at the end of the day, but there will be those who will stand on the other side and say, but that's not exactly responsible leadership, that you're running operations that you clearly say are loss-making, but at the same time, they are contributing to mine accidents, and you would rather have people alive than they die. Is that responsible leadership? By the way, when we talk about responsible leadership, your CEO is very, very clear about the leadership of this country and where it's at. In fact, he is of the view that South Africa is a failed state. So why is his leadership so excellent?
Well, I mean, he hasn't claimed that his leadership is that excellent. I don't think I've never seen that. What we're saying is we're trying our best to manage in a very challenging environment, to maintain our operations, keep them open, keep them running, keep them profitable, so that we can employ people and contribute to the economy and contribute to the growth of the economy and create more jobs. But it's very difficult to do that in an environment where you've got power outages on an ongoing basis, where you've got electricity costs increasing in double digits every year, where you've got disruptions caused by labor and communities who are not getting service infrastructure provided to them. These are the challenges that we are facing. And the reason our operations are loss-making or very marginal is partly because of these reasons, because we've had to absorb over 160% increase in costs from Eskom over the last couple of years. That cannot continue without some consequences. And that's what we are saying, is we need to engage we need closer engagement between business, between governments, and between labor and other stakeholders in order to find a way to work together to ensure that we grow this economy. It's the only way we're going to get out of this.
James Wellsted, thank you very much for your time. He speaks for Sibanye Stillwater Operations.